Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to what I am calling a tale of two toners. That's slightly overdramatic, but if you have watched my toner video, and if you haven't, I will handily dandily link it up here in a card and also down below. You may remember that I mentioned that I was trying out two different toners from the Korean skincare brand COSRX. And I have been doing that for the last few weeks and decided to do a little report on them. This isn't final thoughts, it's more of like, it's not a first impressions, but it's not, I feel like I want to give more time to these as well. But I wanted to go ahead and give you my impressions and thoughts right now, because this also leads into a little bit of a discussion about expectations and our instant gratification society, but we will get to that in just a moment. So, as I mentioned, I bought a couple of toners from COSRX. I get the Haute Look emails, and if you don't know what those are, Haute Look is a part of the Nordstrom family of companies, so Nordstrom Rack, and Haute Look is basically a flash sale website where they offer things for a few days, usually at a significant discount, and that can be clothing, shoes, kids stuff, books, etc., and beauty and skincare products. And they happened to offer a couple, like 2 to 3 months ago, they offered COSRX several items. They usually don't carry the full line of whatever it is they're offering, but they did offer several COSRX products. And these two caught my attention because in the case of one especially, there was an ingredient that is the same ingredient as in a very much more expensive product that I have been wanting to try. And then when I looked at the other one, there's an ingredient in it that I thought might show some promise for particularly my condition that I have. And let me start by telling you that I am 48 years old, so I do have advancing signs of aging. I also have oily skin, and I have a mild case of rosacea. And if you don't know what that is an inflammation of the skin. So it often manifests itself as redness in the center of the face, especially the nose and the cheek area. And it is something that I'm pretty self-conscious about. I've sometimes had people remark on it, say some not so kind and nice things about it, because sometimes, especially my nose can look extremely red, and I don't know if you can tell, but my nose is a pretty prominent nose. This is probably pretty self-evident. It is not a small nose, it's a character actor nose. So if it's red, if it's bright red, it's really noticeable. And I'm a little bit self-conscious about that. And so I'm looking for products that will help address that inflammation. In addition, rosacea can, if it's left unchecked and if it's very serious, it can cause permanent damage. And if you've ever seen pictures of the old-time comedian W.C. Fields, one of his primary attributes was his very, very large bulbous nose. A lot of that was caused by an out-of-control case of rosacea. I think he was also a serious alcoholic, which probably contributed to it as well, but rosacea was definitely one of them. So I really don't want to look like that when I'm older, and I wouldn't, because I don't think my case is quite as serious as his, but I'm curious about products that could help address that inflammation. And I'm also curious about anything that has antioxidant effects, because everybody pretty much could use antioxidants. They're great for addressing free radical damage and signs of aging and things like that, and also moisturizing. And let me start off by talking about the first toner that I used, and that was the Centella Water Alcohol-Free Toner. This is from COSRX, as I mentioned, and I will insert some close-ups of this product. It's a very thin product. Both of these are really thin products. They are water, basically, and they're in spray bottles, so you just spray them all over the face, and they deliver those great skin benefiting ingredients in a really quick way. And if you've watched that toner video, toners tend to be pretty thin. They tend to be almost a water-like consistency, and these definitely are. And they're meant to be a first step in your skincare. And one of the reasons that I wanted to try the Centella water specifically is because Centella Asiatica, which is an Asian plant, has shown some promise as far as anti-inflammatory properties. Centella, I have some research over here that I'm taking a look at. It functions as an antioxidant. It also is great for moisturizing. And it has also been shown to have anti-inflammatory effects, especially for people with skin conditions such as psoriasis, eczema, and rosacea. So rosacea, being an inflammatory skin condition, can really benefit from some products that are anti-inflammatory. Centella Asiatica being one of those. Centella has been used for centuries by Asian peoples for wound healing, and it also can be ingested internally to help with internal health. And it's known by several different names, including Gotu Kola, I think I'm pronouncing that right, which I'm pretty sure I've heard about as far as in vitamin form. I think I've heard of it in that sort of aspect. But basically, this can be used for several different things, but the thing that really caught my attention was the anti-inflammatory claims for it, so that was intriguing. But this is the thing that was really intriguing to me, was the antioxidant and the anti-inflammatory aspects to this product or ingredient. In doing some of my research for Centella, on Centella asiatica, I came across several fairly scholarly reports on it about, and this particular one, and I will link to it down below. It is from NC, the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. That sounds pretty official. And they mention a whole bunch of compounds that I cannot pronounce, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But according to this information, it's effective in improving treatment of small wounds, hypertrophic wounds, as well as burns, psoriasis, and scleroderma. And if you continue on with researching it, you'll find that it's often talked about as a great anti-inflammatory product. So this is the first one that I used. I used it for 2 weeks. I took a couple of pictures, which I will insert somewhere around in here, of my skin before I started using this. And I believe I did take a couple pictures after, and I will mark each of those. And did I notice a huge difference? No, I didn't notice a huge difference. And this is where some of those expectations are going to come into play, but I'll mention that after I talk about this one and the second toner. But I didn't notice any negative effects. Both of these toners do not have alcohol, so they are great options, because you should never use a toner that has alcohol. Alcohol does not belong in your skincare at all, as far as I can tell. So I did not notice any irritation. I did not notice any negative effects from it. But did I notice like huge, fabulous changes in my skin? No, I honestly didn't. But I also didn't notice anything negative. So I used this for 2 weeks. I then took a week-long break, and then I started using the galactomyces alcohol-free toner. And you may know galactomyces as it's the trade name that SK2 uses for it in their essence is Pitera, but it's the same thing. It's their trade name for the galactomyces filtrate ferment. And galactomyces filtrate ferment was supposedly discovered, I have no idea if this is true, but it was supposedly discovered when people were noticing that the people who handle the fermentation of sake, and the galactomyces is a byproduct of the fermentation of sake, they noticed that people who were involved in that, their hands looked really youthful, while the rest of them wasn't. These were old people who had very youthful looking hands, and that sparked some interest. And over time and research, it was discovered that this byproduct of the fermentation of sake was the culprit. And it is a yeast. It is a fermented yeast, and it is known for having moisturizing and antioxidant properties. So not unlike the Centella asiatica. I haven't noticed that the galactomyces is noted for having anti-inflammatory effects, but I'll do some additional research. Both of these things I would like to do additional research on, but I just wanted to go ahead and talk about both of them since I've used them both very recently and give you my thoughts and impressions on them. As with the Centella asiatica, I used the galactomyces for 2 weeks, and I've continued using it morning and evening, spraying several. I spray more of it on in the evening just because I tend to use more products in the evening, and I just like to kind of layer them on like nobody's business. I figure I'm just going to bed, so why not? I also use it in the morning. And again, have I noticed any huge differences? No. In the case of both of these products, I have not noticed that they have irritated my skin. They have not seemingly made my skin any more red than normal. I will probably stop using the galactomyces for maybe a couple days just to see if I notice any kind of change. But like I said, I haven't noticed any huge difference. I'm definitely very interested in continuing to use them, and what I think I will try doing is using them in tandem with each other. And I think what I will try doing is using the galactomyces in the morning and then using the Centella asiatica in the evening. The galactomyces, I found a really good blog post from a person who appears to kind of know what he's talking about. So I will link to that down below. It is from simpleskincarescience.com, and he tried the galactomyces, I believe he tried the essence. So COSRX makes the galactomyces as a toner and also as an essence. Essences being a little bit thicker than the toner. And he has a really great rundown on the ingredients. The galactomyces filtrate ferment helps, among other things, it helps cells to produce hyaluronic acid. And if you know anything about hyaluronic acid, you know it's great. And it's a skincare star because it helps attract moisture to the skin, so it helps plump up the skin, which was one of the reasons that I wanted to go ahead and try this, because of those properties. Because as a person who has aging skin, you want to plump up that skin because we're losing some of that plumpness and some of that beautiful sort of fullness that that younger skin has. So we're always looking for that. So that is one of the benefits for the galactomyces filtrate ferment. This particular product also has niacinamide, which is wonderful also for some anti-inflammatory effects. Helps improve the skin's barrier function, increases collagen production, wonderful stuff. Sodium hyaluronate, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's a humectant, again, attracting moisture, again, really good for plumping up the skin. It has panthenol, which is a provitamin of B5, another wonderful ingredient, glycerin, and all sorts of other things. So he has a great breakdown of those ingredients, so I will link to that so you can read that in full, because he did a wonderful job of that. However, his story is also a good cautionary tale, because this galactomyces is a yeast. So if you have something, as this person does, if you have something called fungal acne, this is not the product to use, the galactomyces, because fungal acne will be made worse by by putting something that has yeast on your skin, because fungal acne is caused by not bacteria, which is what a more typical acne that we know about is caused by. It's caused by yeast. So just be very careful if you want to try anything with galactomyces in it. If you have acne, make sure it is not fungal acne. If you don't know, it would probably be a good idea to visit a dermatologist and just make sure, because he has some pretty horrible information about what happened, and it made him have a terrible acne flare-up. He has a really great write-up about it. But as far as the toner product, as far as the essence product, I'm sorry, it had some great things in it. So, and the thing that I really wanted to try was the galactomyces. And like I said, in my trial of both of these products, I've been very happy with both of them. I haven't noticed anything. I've not noticed any negative effects. I've not noticed any irritation or anything that I wouldn't want. But then that leads me into this idea of expectations. We live in a very much instant gratification world. We want instant gratification with our Wi-Fi service. We want to be able to move quickly from one website to another. We want our email to load really quickly. We want to start a new diet or a new eating plan and lose 9 pounds in a week. We want to, try a new skincare product and in a week or 2 weeks notice these amazing effects and look years younger. And in fact, just yesterday I was reading a magazine and I noticed several ads for skincare products, and one of them in particular said some sort of effect was seen in 2 weeks. Some sort of reduction in the appearance of wrinkles or something along those lines in 2 weeks. And it really made me start to think about this idea that we have these expectations. I have these expectations for products that I'm going to start using, a skincare product, and I'm going to very quickly see effects. And sometimes that is the case. Sometimes you're going to have great effects or negative effects very quickly, and quite often sometimes the negative effects can happen even more quickly than the positive. But either way, we want this sort of instantaneous idea that something's doing good for us, when in fact the good stuff may be happening on a more cellular level, a more granular level that isn't as immediately apparent. As an example, if you start a new way of eating, you may not lose a whole lot of weight right away, or fat, or whatever it is, if you're even trying to do that. But what could be happening is your blood sugar numbers could be going down to more manageable levels if you have an issue with that. Your cholesterol could be getting better as far as the good cholesterol going up, the bad cholesterol going down. Just overall, your blood work numbers could be getting better. Your heart condition could be improving. There could be all sorts of things happening internally that aren't readily apparent, but that are really positive, especially over a span of time. So as I was sort of laying out the groundwork for this video, I started to think about my own expectations with these products specifically. You know, what was I expecting? Was I expecting something very instantaneous? And am I disappointed that that didn't happen? Maybe a little bit. But is that a bad thing? I mean, is it bad that I didn't notice something really amazing right away? Maybe the good effects that these could be having on my skin could be happening in ways that aren't readily apparent to me just by eye, just by looking at my skin. Maybe there are things happening on a more cellular level that are really good. So that really leads me to think that I need to temper my own expectations, especially as I continue on with this channel and continue with posting videos about using various products. One of the things that I definitely want to work on as I continue on with this, and I think this could be useful to other people as well, is finding products that will help address that inflammation that I deal with rosacea, the redness, so that I can stop it from permanently damaging my skin, but I can also become less self-conscious about the redness and become more comfortable with showing my bare skin, or almost bare skin, depending on where it gets to. But I need to perhaps think about checking those expectations at the door and not having this attitude that I need to see these amazingly huge effects right off the bat. But accept that sometimes things will take longer, and sometimes they may happen at a level that isn't really, really noticeable. There might be things happening deep within my skin that are really good that aren't readily apparent to me by eye. So I know that seems a little odd and it probably seems a little philosophical. I have a tendency to get a little bit philosophical about stuff like this, which is funny. Is it worth being that philosophical about skincare products? But it just made me think about how we as a society and we as people tend to want to have things happen very quickly. We've gotten used to that. We've gotten used to the processing speeds in our computers being super fast. We don't want to wait for things. You have next day delivery, and in some cases you have same day delivery. You can order something and then get it the very same day. I mean, 10 years ago, we would never have thought we would have that. So that's all kind of amazing. But sometimes instant gratification isn't the best way to gauge the effect that something is having, whatever that is, whether it's a skincare product, a new diet plan, a new way of eating, whatever it is, that things can happen in a way that isn't that in an instant gratification way. And that's something that I want to keep reminding myself about as I continue on with what I'm doing on this channel. I hope that information was helpful. I will have all sorts of research and additional information down in the description box below. I'm hoping that this is helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. If you have any comments, if you have found products that really work for inflammation, please definitely leave those thoughts down below. If you have any specific things, products, or any special concerns that you're interested in that you think I might be able to address, absolutely leave those down below. I would love that. I am going to continue to look into these products and into these ingredients and continue trying more things that have these ingredients in them. I'm especially interested in the Centella Asiatica because of those anti-inflammatory properties. I'm hoping that maybe I can find some products out there that could really help address that skin redness, because I know if you're like me, you may have that same sort of self-conscious feeling about not showing that, and I really want to address that so that I feel more confident with bare skin. So if that's something that's interesting to you, I hope you will leave me a little like. It really helps with the algorithm, that wonderful YouTube algorithm. If this sounds interesting, please subscribe, because I'm definitely going to be putting out some more content along these lines. I talk a lot about aging, middle aging, dealing with life as a middle-aged person, and a lot of the stuff that people throw at us. And also, down below there is going to be a throwback track. I like to leave a little something for your musical pleasure, and the one down below will be from the musician Peter Murphy, Cut You Up, which seems sort of fitting when we were talking about the Centella asiatica being really good for wound healing. So it kind of fits, but that's a really great song from, I forget the year, I think it's from maybe the very early 90s. But Peter Murphy was a member of Bauhaus, which was a sort of an electronica group in the 70s, 80s. Anyways, it's a great song. That whole album that it came off of is a fantastic album, and I can listen to it on repeat over and over. Great song, I'll leave that down below. If you would like to subscribe, there should be a button. I think it's going to be over here. I will have another video linked over here if you'd like to watch some more, and please come back for the next one. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.